Hey guys, welcome back to another Chemical Combat devlog. Although it's been less than 2 months since the last upload, a lot has been going on in the background. Despite taking a fairly long break from game development to focus on exams and other projects, I've continued making slow but steady progress on the game and is really starting to take shape. If you watch the trailer on Steam, the most obvious changes with the combat. See, originally I made the game in only 2 weeks, so I needed something simple. Something relatively fun, but still easy to make, which is why I went for the whole gun infusion system. But after being eliminated from the competition, I couldn't help but feel like the game just wasn't very fun. Selecting just 2 elements at the start provided little to no variations throughout, and that made the game rather dull. Because of this, I decided to switch the weapon from a gun to 2 potions, thrown with left and right click respectively. Now instead of shooting bullets, you throw these flasks which splash chemicals onto nearby enemies. If the splashed elements react with any of the elements already present, they'll cause reactions, which means triggering many different reactions simultaneously. Making this, however, meant I would have to redo much of the code, which turned out to be a recurring theme. Getting the projectile calculations right was quite frustrating, and I debated scrapping it multiple times, but after a bit more trial and error I managed to get it looking good. The only issue was that I had to manually set my chosen elements in the code, so I repurposed the workbench from the original game into a station for brewing potions. The table has been replaced with shelves, and I have these 2 large potions that you can drag and drop elements into. The idea behind this system is that you choose a sort of magazine of elements which are thrown in the order you added them. This allows for some rather complex theory crafting, as some reactions require 3 elements, but 2 of those could react prematurely and cause a weaker one, so you'll need to decide what order to apply things in for maximal devastation. To build on this system, I've added way more reactions, and there are even more to come. I spent ages reworking the old ones, adding new ones, and planning more content, which should make the game infinitely more replayable. I've got huge plans for things that I want to add, but I don't want scope creep to take over, and I am still aiming for a summer release. Anyway, this new combat called for another rework of the home area. I know I did that already last time, but I've done it again. The new design is pretty similar to the old one, but I made the target dummy setup a bit better, and now have the player upgrades in the same place as the potion bench. But speaking of player upgrades, the observant amongst you might have noticed that there are no longer 5 of those coloured chambers. Long story short, the stat upgrades were only a placeholder, and I've replaced them with an entire skill tree. I was inspired by the one in Forager, and so the perks are divided into 4 distinct sections. Reaction, which focuses on damage output and reactions. Exploration, which includes various quality of life utilities for navigating the dungeons and also improves loot and money earned. Survivability, which helps reduce the impact of your inevitable skill issues. And lastly, experimentation, which includes both boring resource related stuff and random chaotic effects that may or may not mess up your entire run. But these upgrades wouldn't be much use if there wasn't a proper game loop. Previously there was just the one dungeon which was tacked onto the home area, so you had to run back every time you wanted to buy an upgrade. This was only due to the time constraints, but overall it didn't work very well, so I now have it in a separate scene and have these lifts at the end of each floor that take you back. I then messed around with a few algorithms to choose a dungeon size and a biome for each floor, although the biomes are yet to be implemented. Lastly, I fixed some stuff on the minimap and made a full screen view as well, which shows enemies and rooms if you have the corresponding upgrades. Throughout development I've been fixing loads of bugs and trying to polish various aspects of the game, such as by adding transitions between the scenes, animations to the UI, and smoothing out the camera movement. Next time you see the game, it should be in a much more completed state, as there will be a variety of enemies and hopefully a few bosses. I plan to add puzzle rooms and maybe random Easter eggs, as well as properly incorporating the mining system that I started before. But all of that will have to wait until future devlogs, so that's everything for today. See you on the next one.